Hello there guys, my name is MrYorkiesWorld. Welcome back to the channel. It has been a very long time again. I do apologise, it's been about a month, maybe a month and a half. I'm hoping that nothing is really going to try and get in the way of this particular video. I've tried to do it a few times and we've had a few issues that I've had to sort out. But as you can see, we are on the ground at the moment. We're actually at Amsterdam. We're going to be taking KLM flight number 1819 from Amsterdam to some new scenery to the channel with Berlin. And I'm really excited to see the scenery over there. I think it's Aerosoft's scenery over there. Obviously we're using Fly Tampa Amsterdam today. It's currently around, 7:21 Zulu in the morning. And this is a nice short flight. It's only going to take about an hour and 2 minutes, or we'll just say an hour for the sake of it. So hopefully it should be pretty interesting. So, why have I been off? Where have I been? What have I been doing? Well, I'm not going to go into it. As you guys know, I do have 2 children, and there we go. I'm not going to say anything else. So, let's just get into it and let's see if we can go anywhere today with this aircraft, because like I said, I've had a few issues. So to begin with, let's go into the virtual cockpit and the parking brake we have set. Frames are about sort of mid-30s to 40 at the moment. We're running on the i9-9900K and it's overclocked to 5 GHz at the moment, so hopefully we'll have a nice stable overclock and things will work well. Right, so fuel and payload then, let's go down. It's been a while, I do apologise. Let's just close these doors for GSX. And I'm also going to go ahead and request boarding. Just bear with me a second. So request boarding, let's just start Pro ATCX, bear with me a second. As always, it ends up going quiet when I try and start Pro ATCX. Right, there we go. So that should come up now at the top, which it has, and we can go ahead and switch over the frequencies on both sides. Right, okay, let's get started. So XPDR with the transponder. Passengers are boarding now, so that's good. And let's go ahead and do that fuel and payload. So today we're actually going to be taking 6,061 kilograms. So 6,061 kilograms of fuel. I've gone ahead and put a random sort of payload in, but let's just do this again. So random payload, so 35% load level. In fact, let's have a little bit more. Let's go there, 78. There we go. So relatively full. What gate are we at? Delta 93 is what we're at. I don't think this is the gate that the actual flight left on its way, but that's what we're going to do today. So, fuel pumps. We can turn on the aft fuel pump, and we can also switch on the ISO valve to auto. We can start the APU. Shall I get some lights on here? Let's put the emergency lights on and the seat belts. Let's just turn up this light a little bit, the panel brightness. Not that it's needed, but I just like the effects. VORs, traffic and data. We can switch on the flight directors. Very early to be doing this, but oops, we'll do it anyway. Auto brake is set to RTO. And I'm going to go ahead and request clearance now from Pro ATCX.
Clearance delivery, KLM1819. Our parking position is gate.
Let's switch on the IRSs.
Request clearance.
KLM1918, cleared to EDDT via ELP Alpha 2 X-ray and then the side. Climb to flight level 50.
So 5,000 on the initial.
50 within 10 minutes after departure.
And 350 is our cruise altitude, but let's just open the doors first. So 350.
Alpha 2 X-ray, climb to flight level 50. Expect flight level 350 within 10
We can transfer the APU power.
118.07. Squawk 3753.
So transponder, we've already set that to XPDR. And let's go ahead and set up the FMC.
Roger. 12.
In fact, what runway are we using? That would be interesting to know. So it's telling us to use runway 18 centre. So let's just have a look at the heading on 18 centre. What are we looking at? 18 centre is 183 on the heading. So we'll put that in. Like so. And let's just set up the actual FMC. So, back, FMC, pausing it. We are at Echo Hotel Alpha Mike. I almost forgot where we're at then. And as we said earlier, we're currently at gate Delta 93. So Delta 93, which is not in the database, but that's where we are. GPSL, stick that in there. And we're going from Echo Hotel Alpha Mike to Echo Delta Delta Tango. And we're going to be using runway 18 centre. Now our flight number is KLM1819, I believe. Yep, that's right. Activate and execute. Perf in it. Zero fuel weight 57.4. Cruise altitude 350. Transition altitude is 6,000. Our reserves are going to be 1.04. Oops, 1.04. And the cost index is 15. Execute that. N1 limit, we'll use a 24 kd rate. And we're going to use flaps 5. And before we put those speeds in, let's just go ahead and put the departure information in. So, departure, we're going to be using the ELPA 2 X-ray. If we can find that, let's have a look. ELPA 2 X-ray, there we go. So go back to here, and that gives us 146 on the V2. 146. I'm going to arm the auto throttle, even though it's a little bit early. And we're not going to put the arrival. In fact, what does it say on the arrival? Because it is only like an hour long. So the expected approach to the bait 6 Zulu for ILS 08 right. We're going to put that in, I think. So the arrival, we'll put the bait 6 Zulu, ILS 08 right. Transition is the Lanham transition. And the star is going to be bait 6 Zulu, which is there. Execute that. We can go to the legs page. Perfect. No discontinuities. That's all good. That's what we like to see. Right, what's happening with the passengers then? Let's have a look at a top-down view. Oh, I've just heard some passengers actually. Can we see anything? Yeah, there we go. Passengers are coming on. So what haven't we done? Let's just go ahead and arm LNAV and VNAV. The altimeter is already set. We can switch on the yaw damper as well. The window heat switches. We've already got the engine page visible, so that's all okay. We've set the heading. I think that's about it. APU power's already been set or transferred. So it's literally just the before start checklist, which we've already sort of dipped into because we've already got the auto throttle armed. But nevertheless, so we're due to depart at 8:47 or 6:47 Zulu. I don't know why the clock here is wrong, but there we go. We'll have to just deal with it. 8:29 is the local time, and we should be departing at 8:47. So without further ado, I will catch up with you guys in just a few minutes once the passengers have finally boarded the aircraft. So I'll see you in a minute. Right, okay, so all the passengers are finally aboard the aircraft. We can go ahead and close some doors, close the cargo as well. And let me just go ahead and request startup and pushback just to get that out of the way.
Ground KLM1918. Request start up and push back.
And TCAS needs a test as well.
Startup and pushback approved.
So we're approved for startup and push. Let's just go ahead and switch on the anti-collision light. We can switch on the hydraulics and the fuel pumps. The auto throttle's already been done. We do need to remove ground equipment actually, so remove. And I'm going to set this to the legs page. And we can go ahead and request push and start. KLM, and we're going to be going tail right today.
KLM1819. Request startup and pushback.
KLM1819. Startup and pushback approved.
Approved. KLM1819.
And there's the truck.
City 1641. Taxi via Alpha 2 Bravo Alpha Whiskey 12 runway 1.
FPS is still about 32 to 35, I would say. Not too bad, considering the fact that this is a very, very complex airport. I mean, look at all the traffic we've got. We've got loads of KLM. We've got two in the air. We've got one over there. Oops. Got one over there. And look at the size of this airport. It is pretty big. So we're doing pretty well. So we do have an aircraft behind us. So I'm not going to release the parking brake just yet. Just wait while that aircraft behind us has moved. There we go. Just going to make sure that everything's working in terms of the controls. Right, okay, so we are approved. Let's just go ahead. Oops. Engine number 2. Looking for 25%.
Ground, City 923, request taxi.
City 923. Taxi via Alpha 2 Charlie Alpha Bravo Whiskey 12 runway 18.
By Alpha 2 Charlie Alpha Bravo Whiskey 1 to runway.
Well, that'll do for me. Not quite, but... So another aircraft coming in over there.
Ground Air Baltic 609, ready to taxi.
609. Taxi via Alpha 4 Echo Gate Charlie 1.
And it looks like it's going around. We've got to go around.
Air Baltic 609.
Cool.
Approved. KLM1819.
That's engine 1. We can, engine 2, sorry, we can go for engine 1.
Ground, thin air 841 is cleared off the runway. Request taxi to
The amount of times I'm messing my words up today is absolutely unbelievable. You can tell I've not been at this for a while.
Charlie 16.
by Alpha 2 Delta Bravo to Gate Charlie 16 thin air 841.
I think that'll do for me. Again, it's a nice short flight, so I'm not expecting too much to worry about. Can't remember whether we tested the TCAS. I think we did, but we'll just do it again just to be sure.
Push now complete. Set parking brakes, please.
Can set the parking brake, and while we're actually waiting for everything else to sort itself out, what I will do is put the fix information in, because that's one thing that I forgot to do.
TCAS test pass.
And it's not really going to mean much, this, because the flight itself is only covering 413 nautical miles, so it's not that far. You can start to see the rings there, the fixed rings already. Right, okay. So let's do the before taxi checklist. Right, so we've got the probe heats. Transfer the APU power. We don't need anti-ice. We can switch the packs on. APU bleed can come off, and so can the APU. The engine start switches to continuous. I'm going to set the flaps. And the trim, which is
Left is clear, right is clear. Disconnecting now. Have a good
4.99. Just see those flaps being deployed. And while we're at it, let's just do a control check. So, full left, full right,
City 1207. Request taxi.
full forward, full back, full left on the rudder, full right on the rudder, and we're okay. So with that, we can request taxi to the runway.
City 1207.
Ground KLM1918.
Taxi and turn-offs.
KLM1918. Taxi via Alpha 10 Alpha Bravo Whiskey 12 runway 18.
Via Alpha 10 Alpha Bravo Whiskey 1 to runway 18 KLM 1918.
Perfect. Right, let's make a start.
Request taxi. ED2156. Taxi via Alpha 1.
Away we go.
Echo 5 November 12 runway 27 via Alpha 19.
Not quite on the taxi line. There we go. Very, very busy, so I want to try and make sure that we don't knock into anything or anything like that. Knowing my luck, I probably will.
Taxi via Alpha 13 Bravo Echo 4 November 12 runway 27.
Via Alpha 13 Bravo Echo 4 November.
And we're away, so it's quite a long taxiway actually.
279er.
At this time, we also request that you store your electronic devices.
We're at 8:42. We've got 5 minutes before we're due to actually depart,
279er.
so hopefully we'll be okay. And again, just a little bit of information about this flight. So we are KLM 1819 from Amsterdam, where we are right now, over to Berlin Tegel, I believe it is, EDDT. We're with the Boeing 737-800. The flight itself is going to take about an hour and 2 minutes, according to FlightAware. And our departure, or scheduled departure time, is going to be 8:47 AM local time.
Roger. KLM 1279er.
We should be covering approximately 413 nautical miles. And we're going to be departing from runway 18 centre. I've got no idea what runway we're probably going to be landing. In fact, yes I do, because we looked at it earlier and we put it into the FMC. We're actually going to be landing over at 08 right. And it will be one of the first times, not the first time, but one of the first times I've actually landed into the Berlin scenery. So it's pretty exciting. Some lovely, lovely scenery out of the windows, or over the wings. Very, very complex scenery, which is one of the main reasons why we're suffering with the FPS drop. As many of you will know, I usually have about between 40, 50, maybe even 60 FPS. But when it comes to complex aircraft, complex sceneries and things like that, it doesn't matter what sort of system you've got, you will inevitably suffer from frame rate issues, especially in P3D. Hopefully Flight Simulator 2020 won't have that issue. Because we should be able to utilize multiple cores in FS 2020, which at the moment, as people know quite well in P3D, that's not really supported the best that it can be. So we're not really getting the full benefit, especially from an i9 9900K. It would be interesting to see what the performance is going to be like. So, nevertheless, it's going to be pretty boring on the way over to runway 18 centre. So I will catch up with you guys in just a few moments once we're over there.
KLM 1918. Contact hour on 118.1.
180.1 KLM 1918.
Right, okay, so as you just heard, we've got a contact tower because we're almost at the runway, or the threshold for the runway. It's currently 8:51 local time, which We're a little bit late, but nevertheless, I'm going to make this left turn here, and I'm going to request permission straight away to line up.
Tower KLM1819, holding short of runway 18.
KLM1918. Hold your position.
So we've got a hold position.
KLM1918.
And that will more than likely be the aircraft that's currently, for some reason, backtracking on this runway. I have no idea what's going on. But we will see that aircraft in just a second. I don't know whether this is very realistic or not, or whether it's just a case of Pro ATCX being strange, but nevertheless we've got an aircraft that appears, it's another KLM, it appears to be backtracking the runway. And I've just banged my microphone, which is one of the things that I said that I would never do with it being a headset microphone. I do apologise. Yeah, so it looks as if this particular KLM, I'm hoping they're not going to turn this way. Looks like they are.
Tower, City
No.
1352. On final request landing. Runway 24.
City 1352. Clear to land, runway 24. Slow to final.
Very unusual. So I think what's happening is he might... Whoa, what the hell's he doing? I think he might be lining up actually. I don't think he's backtracking. I think he's using the runway as a taxiway, which I do believe is the case in real life. It is used as a taxiway as well. Correct me if I'm wrong, I've got absolutely no idea whatsoever. We're going to prepare for takeoff anyway, or at least prepare to enter the runway. So, let's go down here, TA and RA, landing lights, taxis can come off, the strobes can come on. I'm going to set up very quickly, 08 right is our arrival runway. Let me just have a look and check. 08 right, yes. So I'm going to set that up on the navigation radios.
KLM1278 on final runway 18 left. KLM1278.
So we need 108.5.
Clear to land runway 18 left. QNH 984. KLM1278.
In the standby.
1918. Line up runway 18.
Perfect.
Runway 18. KLM19.
Right, so we're going to line up. That was good timing. Should really have sorted that out at the gate, to be honest, or while we were taxiing, just literally putting in the standby frequencies for the ILS.
923. Holding short of runway 18. City 923. Line up runway 18.
Lining up runway 18, City 923.
And here we go. Runway has been verified. We've got traffic on the runway as well.
1918. Wind 160 at 8. Runway 18 cleared for takeoff.
Runway 18.
Except we're not cleared for takeoff because we've got traffic on the runway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to toggle the aircraft off a moment. We're going to go 40%. Stable. Parking brake would be a good thing. Toga. Oh, there we go. I got the wrong button. Right, okay. That was probably the messiest set of circumstances I've ever been through. 80 knots. Should definitely have released the parking brake before pressing Toga. V1. And rotate. Positive rate. Gear up. Wonderful, wonderful effects. Look at that. Absolutely gorgeous.
Departure KLM1918. With you passing 700 for flight level 50.
KLM1918. Radar contact. Continue via ELBAKKOURI Alpha 2 X-ray departure. Maintain flight level 190.
So 190.
Alpha 2 X-ray departure climbing to flight level 1.
Lock the gear and auto brake is off.
918.
Still hand flying at the moment. Look at that. Absolutely beautiful. Right, okay. So we're looking good. Autopilot's in command. We can set 190. Just going to check a few things just to make sure that we've definitely got... No, we've got the wrong transition level. There we go. That should make sure that the transition level remains correct throughout. Right. Engines to normal. We can switch off the runway turn-offs. The seat belts can be set to auto. And I think that is it. I think we're okay. Wonderful wing view. Should probably start to retract those flaps now. Perfect. And we're coming up on 6,000. I will go ahead and switch Ultimate Traffic Live back on now. So 6,000 feet, standard. We can bug up the heading to where we're going to be going, which is there, approximately. You can see how far away we are. We're not very far at all. The 150 mile radius ring is right there. A little bit of cloud, but other than that, absolutely gorgeous, beautiful. And we should start to see that FPS coming up again to the bottom right hand side of the screen, or bottom right corner. So top of climbs there, and top of descents there. Not going to be a very long flight at all, to be honest. Right, 10,000 feet. We can switch off the landing lights. Beautiful. I mean, just look at the terrain. It's absolutely fantastic. And there we go, we're up at 10,000 feet, well 11,000 now. Not much else we can really do, apart from wait. So without further ado, I will leave you guys with some amazing cinematics. Might be a little bit shorter than usual due to the fact that we are virtually about to land near enough, it's that short of a flight. But there we go, I will catch up with you guys in a little bit. Right, okay, so we've actually been requested to descend to 230 already, which is a little bit early. Top of descent's just there, but we are approaching that 150 mile radius ring, if I can get my words out. It's 9:13 AM local time, and we should be arriving at 9:49 AM, so hopefully we'll make up for that little bit of a later departure there. So what's the current heading? So 065. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to the radios, and I will just transfer over 108.5 into the active. And we can see the glide slope and everything else coming up on the PFD. Right, okay, so the barrow we need to set. So let's just go on to EFB. Procedures, and we need to go to airport first, which is going to be EDDT. Procedures and arrivals, 08 right. And just to confirm what we're going to be using, let's go back into the sim. We're going to be using the Bait 6 Zulu for ILS 08 right with the Lanham transition. And if we look on here, this is what we've got. So elevation 109, so that's 309 on the barrow. 108.5 at 078, so we'll put 078 into the course. On both sides. I'm going to use Auto Brake 2 as a standard. And let's just go here. So 108.5, 079 it says on there, but it's not much of a difference. Flaps 30 at 144 is what we're going to be using. So let's just go up. So 144. What am I doing? 144, there we go. And actually it's going to be 149, isn't it? Because we're going to add 5 knots. So that's fine. Auto brake's already set. Altimeter's perfectly fine. We don't need to touch that yet. Engines, we don't need to mess around with those just yet either. I think we're all set, to be honest. And just because I'm picky, I am going to set that to 079. Just because the FMC says it. So there we go. 0916. Looks like we've been in the air for 20 minutes. So we are definitely going to be a little bit early by the looks of it, which is absolutely fantastic.
KLM 1918, contact Remen on 118.05.
118.05.
Right.
KLM.
So without further ado, look at that. Absolutely gorgeous. Gorgeous effects
Bremen,
on the wings and
1918.
plenty of clouds down there.
310 for flight level
And if we just look
230.
at the conditions, what we're looking at, so 12 degrees Celsius, that's perfect. 170 at 7 knots, so a 7 knot wind that we're going to be dealing with, not too bad at all. And obviously 08 left and 08 right are the runways that are in use. So, perfect. We've got an aircraft up there somewhere, look at that. So nevertheless, I will catch up with you guys a little bit later on once we're closer to landing this bird. Okay guys, so as you can see the ILS feathers are right here for 08 right. This is where we are, and if we look on EFB we can see a little bit more information. So we're at 5,000 at the moment. We've got to reduce down to 4,000, and the missed approach altitude is 3,000, so I'm assuming it's going to be a pretty, yeah, so you can see it there. So 4,000 and then 3,000. So we've got sort of a small gap to reduce by 1,000 feet, but I'm sure we'll manage. We've got the radios set, so 108.5 on both sides. We're going to be using flaps 30 at 143. which is now 148 on the final approach speed. The barrel's been set as well, did that earlier. We've got the landing lights on, the runway turn-offs, we've also got the seatbelt signs on, and the engines are both set to continuous. And those ILS feathers are coming in pretty rapidly. We're going to be using auto brake 2, and we're currently at flaps 5, which I will reduce down very shortly to flaps 10, which is 210 knots. But so far so good, looking good. We've been in the air for 52 minutes. So EFB, or should I say Flight Aware, wasn't that far off. It said an hour and 2 minutes, and we haven't landed yet. We should be arriving in 1 minute's time, or 1 minute time, 9:49 AM local time. Doubt that's going to be the case, but still, we're not terribly late. Let me just go down and arm the auto brake, or speed brake. So 4,000 feet now. I'm going to go down to flaps 10 speed, or just below. I'm going to add a little bit of drag, just with those speed brakes. Which should help to get us down pretty rapidly. You can see the green banana there. That's where we want it to be. And as soon as we get there, I can, or as soon as we get to 205 at least. 210 is the flaps 10 speed, but... Right, so I'm going to go flaps 10. We can get rid of that drag now. Shouldn't need it. Set the speed to about 190. And here we go. The final turn. Here comes the localizer. And of course we will activate VOR lock as soon as that comes in. In fact, we'll do that now just to make sure. So the aircraft should start to follow that now. No idea what performance is going to be like. But we're down to about 40 FPS. And we've got quite a bit of wind. We're dealing with a 14 knot crosswind, which is not good. You can see the aircraft is obviously struggling to keep to the localizer diamond. So final approach speed is 148.
Descending to 3000, KLM1819.
We're going to go approach hold. I'm going to go, where's flaps 15? Yeah, we're below that, so gear down, and I'm going to go flap 15. And I'm going to go flaps 25. And we can also go to flaps 30 now. Wonderful, look at that view. Absolutely gorgeous. So that wind's dropped a tiny little bit. 13 knots now. Still not perfect, but there we go. Right, okay, so landing checklist. So we've got gear down 3 greens, flaps 30. We've got auto brake 2. Oops, I put gear down without getting confirmation that I'm okay to land, but it'll be fine. We've got the auto brake set, we've got the lights on, we've got the seat belts on, and I think we're okay. Speed brake is armed, I believe. It is now. And here we go. So 36, or no, maybe between 35 and what have you FPS. Not too bad. 9:53 AM. 4 minutes late. Look at those lovely wing effects coming in. Absolutely wonderful. Look at that. Dead on profile. Looking good. Speed's a little bit high. Just reduce it down a little bit just to compensate. 11 knots now on the crosswind, blowing us to the left. Quite a bit of cloud, so I can't really see anything. I'm hoping that cloud starts to shift a little bit. There we go, it is clearing. There we go, we can see the runway. Just going to let it roll a little bit longer on autopilot. But so far, we are looking absolutely fantastic. Look at those lovely effects. 1,000. There's 1,000 feet. The aircraft is now mine. Trying to keep to the flight director. Don't want to get too low.
Tower Air Lincoln 331, holding short of runway 26 left, ready for departure.
Shamrock 331, hold your position.
Holding position, Air Lincoln 331.
Trying to keep on profile without getting too low.
$500.
500 feet.
$400.
A little bit too high.
$300. Approaching minimum. 200. Minimum.
Continue. Back on profile.
100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
Oh, that was a firm one. Reversers. Decel.
KLM
80 knots, manual braking.
To the right, contact ground 121.75.
120, 1.75, KLM 19.
Right, okay, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Berlin, or Berlin, however you want to pronounce it. Take this exit to the right. Bit of a rough landing, but overall I think that went pretty well, to be honest. We'll know more once we take a look on the replay, which we will do in just a few seconds. I'm going to come to a stop right here. Set the parking brake. We can toggle the aircraft off on UT Live, and I'm going to take a look at that replay. Right, okay, so I do apologise about the jerkiness of the replay there. There's really nothing I can do about it, but overall I think that was a reasonable landing. It wasn't perfect, but it was reasonable. So the auto brake's off. I'm going to go ahead and switch everything else off. We can enable UT Live just while we're doing this. I'm going to switch over these frequencies. We can switch off these lights. Put the taxis on. We can start the APU and retract all the flaps. And I'm also going to request taxi to parking.
Ground KLM1819 is cleared of the runway. Request taxi to parking.
KLM1918, taxi via Romeo Echo Sierra Mike to gate 24.
Via Romeo Echo Sierra Mike to gate 24 KLM1918.
Okay, so anti-collision's been set. Or position, initial, oh, whatever it is. I can't even get my words out. The strobes have been set to steady. That's what we need to hear. Right, okay, so everything is sorted. Flaps are on their way up. In fact, they are up. And what gate have we been asked to actually go to? Because I missed that. Gate 24. So let's get GSX up. And we can request... Oops. Previous page. 24. We don't need to follow me. And we'll just put Air Berlin, I suppose. So let's just get that up on... the taxi, so gate 24 on EFB, not too far away as you can see. Just follow it to the right and Sierra Mike, oops, where are we? So Sierra Mike onto Papa Mike and 24 is just there. Right, okay, so welcome once again everybody to Berlin. That was pretty nice actually, it was pretty straightforward. I did enjoy the landing. First landing I've done in a while. And I might start doing some live streams again at some point soon. Either flights, or I could do maybe like a review or something like that, and like an interactive review sort of thing of a product, if you guys would be interested in that. Or literally just a question and answer session. But I will have to confirm a time and date that all of that is acceptable, obviously. So, there we go, an hour and 8 minutes. According to FlightAware it was going to take an hour and 2. So only 6 minutes difference. And I am happy with that. And we got there in the end, we managed in the end to get there relatively problem free. But look at this, it's absolutely fantastic scenery by... Aerosoft, I believe. I'm sure it's Aerosoft. I will have to have a look, but I'm sure this is Aerosoft's Berlin. Knowing my luck, it probably isn't, but we'll have a discussion about it, I'm sure, in the comments. Right. So where are we? So we've got the traffic in it. We've got a lot of Air Berlin, obviously, with this being Berlin. It would make sense. We can reduce down on the course down to 0 because we don't need that anymore on both sides. FPS is pretty good. It's not perfect, but it's okay. We can take that down. We can take the speed down, or the heading, should I say, to 360. And the speed can go down to 100. There we go. But it is pretty much a big airport, or I should say a small airport. It's just the surrounding area that I think is pretty big, very detailed, and I suppose that's what you really need. I just wish I had a way that I could potentially edit that landing on the replay so that it was a little bit less jerky. I know there's certain methods that you can use, such as turning down the playback rate and then recording it that way and then speeding it back up in post, and that's supposed to make it nice and smooth, but I haven't really got time for doing stuff like that. It would take a hell of a long time, so it was sort of a rush job today, but I'm hoping maybe maybe I can make it more successful in the future. And hopefully we can change from the 737 as well, because I've been doing a lot of 737 flights, and I would like to either fly the Queen of the Skies or the 777 again at some point. I do have the Airbus as well, but I'm not a great fan of the Airbus. I prefer Boeing because I'm boring like that. But here we go. I'm going to turn off the taxi lights early because we are relatively close to where we need to be at gate 24. So it looks like I stay on this particular taxiway here, and I can see the GSX ground crew there. There's the Marshal, so we're okay. Should be perfectly fine if I can line up correctly. A little bit further forward. Oh, a little bit too far, but there we go. Parking brake is set. Just make sure that everything's transferred. And then... where the hell am I going? Right, there we go. So cut the engines. Right. Okay, passenger signs. We can switch off. We can, of course, turn off these, turn off those. And I'm going to connect external power and everything else that goes with it, just to make sure. Of course, this means that we can switch off the APU. Aft fuel pump can come off. And we're going to request deboarding. I'll turn off the anti-collisions now as well, even though they should technically stay on for a little bit longer, but who cares. And that's about it. So, ISO valve we can open. Oh no, that's not the ISO valve. ISO valve we can open. We've already switched off the fuel pumps. APU bleed, that can go on actually. The flight directors, right, let's switch all that off. That's one thing we forgot to do. And finally, let's open some doors. Have we got any air stairs? Yes, we've got stairs at both sides. Perfect. So the aircraft is now being serviced, ready for the turnaround state, I should imagine. But thank you very much for watching, guys. Again, I do apologise. Oh, we've got a rather large aircraft. Is that a 777? I've no idea. Thank you once again for watching. I do apologise again for the lack of content over the past several weeks and months. I've been incredibly busy. We all know the story. I have 2 young children, so they have to come first. But it's been a pleasure doing another flight, and hopefully we'll get some more flights done very, very soon. We're approaching 6,000 subscribers, so I might do a giveaway for that. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.